All right, what is going on in Monte Carlo? It's been a crazy tournament. The big stars, some of the big stars didn't show up. Rafa Nadal, Carlitos Alcaraz, and our guy Felix Auger-Aliassime. But the players that did show up caused a scene. We've got Zverev calling Medvedev the most unfair player. We've got Medvedev roasting him in the press conference and on the court with other players. We've got Holger Rune now beating Jannik Sinner and a bit of a salty handshake there. We got Djokovic losing to Musetti in a match that had like 15 breaks in it. So just craziness going on in Monte Carlo. Let's get to the bottom of it. Here's the slice on what's going down, and I'm going to do my best to summarize it all. Sound good? Let's get into it. Here's the slice. All right. Wow. Before we get into it, a little update on what we're doing here. The Billie Jean King Cup is going down in Vancouver, which is just across the water. I just got back from it, and our reporter, Karina Mustafa, is on the ground covering the action. So follow her on Twitter and follow the slice on Twitter for updates on the Women's World Cup of Tennis going down in Vancouver. And new partnership alert, CoolBet, our official new sports book. You can bet on CoolBet, and if you sign up with the link below using the code TheSlice, they'll match whatever you deposit. So if you deposit $50, they'll give you $50. So shout out to CoolBet. They already sent us the gear. And looking at the odds for tomorrow now, the final between Holger Rune and Andrey Rublev, they've got Holger Rune as the favorite at 1.59, Rublev at 2.5. So to me, a lot of value on Rublev, but I do understand them actually putting Rune as the favorite, which is crazy, which we'll talk about. But first, let's get into the drama. Scenes, absolute scenes in Monte Carlo. We've got Medvedev and Zverev, the salty handshake. We've got Medvedev making fun of the handshake in the next round when he lost to Holger. Just basically, perfect scene, perfect setting for tennis. The weather didn't really look like that this week there, but yeah, what a tournament. Let's take a little bit of a look at it. Why don't we? But yeah, what started? What started is Djokovic and Tsitsipas were my two favorites to make the final, and that didn't happen, obviously. So we're just gonna pull up the draw here. Look at that. But why don't we start with the drama? The drama, because that's what the real main story is here. So I don't really know what went down in the match between Medvedev and Zverev. This is a summary. Some of you probably watched more of the matches than I was able to. But basically, during the match of Zverev and Medvedev, Zverev felt like Medvedev had been unfair for taking a certain bathroom break at a certain time. Now, Medvedev, I think, is quite popular in the locker room. I think he's quite popular in general. He's personally my favorite player as far as personalities go on the ATP Tour. Just an absolute legend. The video of him, which you'll be able to see on Twitter, of him telling the ball kids to move before he smacks the ball at the wall. That's just so funny. Maybe he learned from Djokovic doing that at the US Open 2020. But during that match, somehow Zverev got mad. Maybe he was most mad that he didn't serve out the match. I think he served for it twice. Medvedev mentioned that. And then at the end, Zverev does basically the flyby handshake and just no love lost. And then afterwards in the press conference says Medvedev is one of the most unfair players and that Zverev, takes sportsmanship very seriously. And then some Twitter community members pointed out the fact that Zverev, I take sportsmanship very seriously. Zverev, Alex, I take sportsmanship very seriously. Zverev is the same guy who is smashing his racket on the umpire's chair after losing a doubles match. So that's not very good sportsmanship, obviously. So that's a little bit ironic, obviously. But Medvedev did note in his reaction to that, it wasn't the heat of the moment. You never know. It's a tough place to answer press questions when you've just lost, especially when you've served for it. But the Medvedev did say, it is crazy that Zverev says, we're friends, and Zverev kind of often said we're friends with Medvedev's wife, and Medvedev kind of goes, that's certainly not the case. And he just kind of mentioned other players that, Medvedev has a lot of friends in the locker room, and then Zverev, just is always the one saying things and kind of complaining about things. And usually he's just got to look in the mirror. That's kind of the gist of what Medvedev said as far as a reaction. So very funny. I thought, I like all this. I don't really care. And then, yeah, when Medvedev lost to Holger Rune, he like joked like this, as you can see, like he wasn't going to shake his hand. And then he did. And then Holger was like, you're so unfair, like making fun of the fact that Zverev called Medvedev unfair. But in all fairness, this is just good stuff. I don't know. I personally, what do you guys think? I like this. I think it's funny. And, I think it's honestly good for the game. It brings a little bit more drama to the game. But let's take a look at where we are at now in the draw. So what happened? Novak Djokovic gets through one match, Ivan Gaukov, which was a tough match. And then you can see he was a little bit rusty still. And then against Lorenzo Musetti here, if we go into the match, well, that's not the match. If we go into the score, 2 hours and 54 minutes, there was a rain delay. Djokovic did not serve great. He only won 59% of his first serve points, 39% of his second serve points. He was broken like 8 times. He broke Musetti 7 times. I mean, just absolute chaos on there. Points, 23 winners, 23 unforced errors for Djokovic. Look at Musetti, 28 winners, only 6 unforced errors. So cleaner match from Musetti, played like a dog, and really just did well. So Musetti gets through Djokovic for the biggest win of his career and then loses to countryman Jannik Sinner 2-2. That's what happens. Daniil Medvedev comes through Sonego, comes through Zverev 7-6 in the 7-6, 9-7 in the third set tiebreaker, then loses to Holger Rune. Holger Rune just kind of quietly going about his business. Today takes out Jannik Sinner in what I thought was an epic match, and a matchup that could become, I would say a rivalry in the future. If you look at their head-to-head now, though, it's 2-0 for Jannik Sinner, or sorry, for Holger Rune, which is pretty interesting. So they've played twice, both, or last year in Bulgaria, Holger won, and then I thought Sinner was looking good in this matchup at the start, but then Holger was able to turn around and just kind of be more physical. It mainly seemed like. So Andrey Rublev comes through Taylor Fritz, and now we got a final of Rublev versus Rune, and that's a great matchup. So, like I said, the Cool Bet, the folks at Cool Bet, the official sports book of the Slice, link below, have gotten Holger Rune as the fairly steep favorite in the final, and I tend to agree with them. I would put my money on him to win. He just seems to have everything that Rublev has, but just a little bigger. He's just a bigger guy. He's stronger. He doesn't have to swing as hard to get the same pace as Rublev seems, but Rublev is more experienced. So we'll see what type of level Rune brings, but I do lean Rublev on these, I do lean Rune on the clay. He's a savage. Anecdote about Holger Rune. The growth he's had in the last 12 months is absolutely crazy. I remember last year texting his mom. We were talking. He was playing the Challenger in San Remo, which is like, I think, a half an hour drive away from Monte Carlo in Italy. He won the Challenger on, I think, Saturday, probably Saturday. And then he drove over to Monte Carlo to play challenging, where he beat Radu Alba, like a veteran player on the ATP. Got into the main draw and then lost. A year later, he's already won the Paris Masters. He's up top 10 in the world now, and he's in the final of Monte Carlo. So I've been talking about Holger Rune. We've been interviewing for him for a while, and I really feel like that was writing on the wall, was that he was going to have this type of success. It did come faster than I thought, and he thought as well. So he literally joked by the end. He said, I think at the beginning of 2022, he's like, yeah, my goal is to be number 1 in the world. No. But he actually got to number 10, which is obviously pretty far from number 1, but still, his goal was actually top 50. He got to top 10. And yeah, that's an amazing feat for a still 19-year-old. So we've had lots of crazy tennis. What happened to, I forgot. What happened to Stefanos? Stefanos was my pick to go meet Djokovic in the final, and he wasn't able to. He lost to Taylor Fritz, 6-2, 6-4. So he drops down in the ranking a little bit. Just a crazy ride there. Crazy tournament. Not as much for the tennis. A lot of this is, just kind of fairly normal stuff when it comes to the actual tennis, but the on-court, off-court antics were pretty crazy. I didn't really see too much of the Holger Rune match today, but why Yannick Sinner was pretty salty at the end. There's probably a reason. I think the whole crowd was against Holger and would force Yannick. But you guys know, so let me know what happened down below. But that's the general gist, the slice of what was going down there. Crazy tournament in Monte Carlo, the Monte Carlo madness. But we love to see it. Makes the sport more interesting. So, big match tomorrow. Andrey Rublev going for his first Masters 1000. Holger Rune going for a second. It's going to be big time. So we'll all be tuning in and let the best man win. Thanks for watching. This has been The Slice.